Hey,
What up?
up?
Hello, how are you?
Good, man. I haven't seen you in ages.
I know it's been a couple of months. What's happening?
Just chilling, enjoying quarantine. What about you?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same. I haven't stepped out much.
Look at your beard, man.
I'm just too lazy to get rid of it.
Yeah, you're right. Cool, cool. Really excited for
So,
today.
yeah, so am I. So, shall we start off with listening to a little something from you?
Sure. Let's see. What do I got here? Okay, let's go. You ready to dance?
Yep.
Okay, let's go. Access denied to my temple is that you're going mental. This is not a rental. No barriers around it. The main seem gentle. But this danger of explosion, go ahead, call it a mental. Why you looking at me like you wanna? Oh, slow it down and ignorance and like a nori. Oh, peeking through the gate, no one's to say hey. No, activate the honest, so don't figure, whoa, what a complex, what a concept of fun design. Foundations more than a nation sit together like a spine. Pillars of emotions, colors of devotion, well aligned. Check out the wallpaper, love it for his volatile time. It's a Temple. Temple. If you want to come near, be gentle.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
It's fundamental fun, cause it's my temple.
Asian. Amazing.
Yeah, oh my
Amazing.
God, over here it's like 11:30 in the morning. Like I woke up like an hour ago. So my
Oh,
eyes are still
then.
really swollen and I have my morning voice.
Okay. But that was dope. I want to start off this whole session by congratulating you on the 1 year anniversary of your album Commotion.
Yay!
It's amazing that I was super lucky to get this session with you exactly on the day it turned one.
It's dope. Yeah, I can't believe that 1 year ago I was like releasing my first album. I mean, it's a huge step, to release your first full
Right,
project. It was the first time I
right,
was releasing a project with a record label as well. And it was the first time I was seeing a full project of mine on all like digital platforms and everything. So it was like a great feeling. It opened a lot of doors for me. And we've done so
right,
much in 1 year. And the album has
right.
traveled all across the globe. And we've been doing
Wow,
shows everywhere. And it's been on radios in different countries. So it's pretty exciting.
crazy. I think I was checking your Instagram. I went to your very first post and I kept on checking how your journey has been.
Oh my
And I think 2019 must have been like the biggest year for you, right?
It was pretty crazy. It was pretty intense. I mean, I had always worked by myself and everything, but I signed with this independent record label called Overstand, and end
Right,
2018, I think. So 2019 was like, okay, now we have to do everything that we planned for, and
right,
everything that I have ever done in my life has led to this moment, kind of a thing. Because this was my first
right,
album. I had done mixtapes and stuff like that before, but like to know what you wanted to say on an album, for me this was like a presentation album where I was really telling the world who I
right,
was, how I got there,
right,
and what my
right,
struggles were. So
right,
it was really hard, to get everything down in words and then to be able to express all of that pain and the
right,
joy as well, and to make it
right,
really danceable, mix all my influences and stuff. It was a very interesting journey, which was hard, but the result was
right.
good and I'm really proud of it.
Awesome. Once again, congratulations. I think I really, really love the album. I think I've told you this before. I think Unstoppable is my favorite track from your album. Though I love all your dance numbers, but Unstoppable like comes out so strong.
That was a very, very difficult song to write. So I knew that I wanted dancey songs, but I also wanted a
Right.
piano voice song. And I went to see one of my producers, and he was like, "Oh, I'll make you a piano in like 2 seconds." He played one melody, and then he just put it in a loop, and
Right.
exported it for like 3 minutes. He was like, "Go right tomorrow. I want you to come back, and we're gonna record this." And I was like, "What?" So I was just at home, like trying to figure out, and I swear I was like crying at the same time I was writing it because I was like going deep
Right.
into my emotions. And
Right.
Unstoppable really tells the story since like I left India when I was a kid, like what my
Right.
parents went through, how I got to Europe, how I felt really different, from everybody else, how it was really hard to fit in and to adapt
Mm.
to a different culture, different people.
Right.
When you always feel that you're left out and everything, and how then I had to define myself as a woman, as an immigrant woman in Europe, and all of that. So it just reflects all my life, literally.
Yeah, amazing. I think, yeah, I really, really. Love that work. And I think it's like you said, I think it's very deep. It's just straight up, you're speaking from the heart. Right. So when was the very first time you listened to hip hop? When was the first time you held the mic?
Oh, when I listen to hip hop and held the mic, it's like two different things. Because I used to be a dancer, so I listened to
Right.
a lot of hip hop because I used to dance on it, and I used to do street shows and and battles
Right.
and that kind of stuff. So hip hop was
Right.
always part of my life. And then I started rapping when I moved to France. So I grew up in Spain, and then I moved to
Right.
France in 2011. So when I was 18.
Right.
And over here, like I started, hanging out with different rappers and different musicians, and they were like, "Hey, you can tell that you know a lot of songs by heart and you have a style. Maybe you should try writing." And I was like, "No, I'm a dancer. I don't write." And they were like, "Yeah, maybe one day you should try." So then I just started trying, and at the beginning, what I wrote was absolutely rubbish. But then, as I started
Okay.
working on it, it started getting interesting. And then I was like, if I'm gonna do this, I'm not gonna do it as a joke. I'm gonna work on it really hard, and I wanted
Right.
to create a style that nobody else is gonna be able to imitate and copy. So that's when I started
Right.
working on my fast style and I varied in my flows and stuff like that.
Right. So you started off as a dancer, right? What made you pick up the mic and never stop? Like, because you were still in the hip hop, in the whole hip hop zone itself, but then you transited from, you were dancing for a really long time, and then you switched to becoming a rapper, and then I see that you're like into it and so much into the craft. How did that happen?
I think what made me stay in the rap game is the fact that I want to be the reference that I never had. Like when I was growing up, there wasn't a brown girl like me that was making hip hop. So I always felt like it wasn't accessible for me. Like we didn't have a place in that scene. So when I started making music, it wasn't like now you have quite a few, rappers, especially in like the Hindi game and the
Right.
DC hip hop scene and stuff like that. But when I started, there wasn't anybody. So I was like, okay,
Right.
if there isn't somebody, then I'm going to create that persona. And if there is a space, I'm going to make that space. I'm going to create, my own box in which I can fit in and I can define what I want to do. And so that other girls, growing up have a reference to look up to. And I'm going to,
Right.
talk about things that we usually don't talk about, like our bodies, sexuality,
Right.
feminism, and all these things. So yeah, I was like, yeah, if that doesn't exist, then it's my responsibility. It's my job to create it.
Right. So you started off with English rap, but then you moved to writing in French. I think you also write in Spanish. When did you find the need to? So you come from different cultures, right? You were born in Goa, and then you went to Portugal, and then to Spain, and then to France. So when did you find it? So when you started rapping, it was just English. So when did you find the need to switch to different languages and put it all together?
So when I started in English because it just felt like more natural, because that's like the kind of hip hop that I used to listen to, like American hip hop. Then I
Right.
decided to put in some Spanish because there were a couple of words, that had a nice phonetical, just the sound of it. I liked the sound of it. So I decided, to start mixing it. And then I was like, but that is part of who I am. Why should I stop myself from writing in Spanish? So then I started writing full verses in Spanish, when at the beginning it was just like a word from time to time. And then when I started
Right.
writing my album, I was like, but I also have a French public. I've also been living in France for nearly 10 years now. That is also part of who
Right.
I am. So now I need to mix
Right.
that inside as well. And I don't write a lot in French because, I did my university here, I did my master's degree. So I have a very academic way of speaking French. I don't have like the
Right.
street lingo when I speak French. So when I write rap in French, it's still kind of hard because I just feel that it's not natural. But I really like to write in Spanish because it has a completely different sound to it. Like you can
Right.
say anything in Spanish, it just makes it sound like super dancey and super catchy. No
Yeah.
matter what you
Right.
say, anything you say in Spanish
Right.
sounds good.
Right.
So yeah,
Okay.
they have different ways of sounding and different ways you can play around with them differently, kind of a thing.
Okay. Okay. So I think your previous stage name was Tracy D, and then you transited to Tracy De Sá. How did that transition happen? I think a lot of rappers have this thing where they have one name and then they switch up the name. So how did that happen?
You have really been doing a lot of research about me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that was the whole intention of this series. What I'm doing, that I think people, your listeners or people who listen to me, need to know how this artist has transited from where they started.
100%. Yeah, at the beginning, I called myself Tracy D because I didn't know what to call myself. And then I
Okay.
realized that there was another rapper from the States who was a man who was called Tracy D. So whenever you type my name
Oh
in
shit.
Google, you would get his video. So I was like, okay, I think I need to change my name. And it took me a long while to figure out how I wanted to call myself because I wanted to be authentic. I wanted,
Right.
to reflect myself and my life, but at the same time, I wanted something that was powerful. And I
Right.
also decided to use, because Tracy is my first name, is my real name, and De Sá is my last name. It's like 100% real. So
Right.
I decided to choose this because it represented like my cultural background, because Tracy is an English name, De Sá is a
Right.
Portuguese surname, which is very common
Right.
in Goa. And actually, my dad had chosen my first name, and my dad's family's name is De Sá. And I grew up with
Right.
my mom. I didn't grow up with my dad. So for me, I always felt
Right.
like I didn't carry my name right. Like that name didn't belong to me. Like it wasn't mine. It was somebody else's kind of thing. So then when
Right.
I started working on myself, I was like, okay, now I have to really take control of my name and say that that name
Right.
doesn't define me. I define the name. So that's when like I
Wow.
made my weakness my biggest strength. Like tomorrow people are gonna remember that surname because of me, not because of my
Right.
kind of a thing. So that was like the message I
Nice.
want to put it behind.
Nice. I can totally relate to that because Gubbi is my surname, and my previous artist name was Carnage with a K because my first name is Karthik. It starts with K, and since I started rapping in Kannada, it felt more natural to me to be more of me and have an identity of my own instead of going with some other name. So I can really relate to that.
But it's really hard to find like an artist name. A lot of people say try and find something that nobody has, something that reflects you, something that is original. Like honestly, anything can be an original. Like if you think of 6ix9ine, what is so original about 6ix9ine? Like what is so
Right.
original about yeah? If you think like there's a lot of rappers' names that make no sense, but
Right.
it's the sense that you give it and how much you work behind it. Like how do you make it reflect in your image? Because it's not only
Right.
finding a good artist name, it's about how do you connect that to a brand? How do you connect that to
Right.
an image, the image of the persona behind your music, and how do you connect it to the aesthetic of your music and all of that? Like everything is interrelated. So you need to define all these things to be able to make sure that your artist name fits in with the rest.
Right. True. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
In the
your first
sorry,
uh,
saying T-Pain on the
yeah. So actually, a couple of people have been asking what your mother tongue is. Like, are you able to speak Konkani? Because that's the language spoken in Goa.
No, my mother tongue is actually English, but my second language is Spanish because I got to Spain when I was 2 years and a half. So I learned to
Right.
speak Spanish, and I used to speak Portuguese before, but when I moved to Spain, I forgot all of it. And I don't speak a
Right.
word of Konkani, I don't speak a word of Hindi.
Okay. Right. So I think the first mixtape you worked on was the Alpha Female mixtape. I think that's your first big body of work. I couldn't find it anywhere.
I deleted it.
So I was looking for it. It said wherever the post was there, it always took me back to your website. I'm like, damn, I have to find out. And there was only one music video, I think, on your YouTube channel about it. And that's also unlisted. So, so tell us about that mixtape. I think that was your first step into making a solid body of work in hip hop.
That was a very difficult project to make because everything was super underground. We were recording it at home. We mastered it with
Right.
some guy that we never knew, and it was like everything was super cheap. So like I wasn't
Right.
even happy with the final quality of it. Like when I listen to it now, when I heard it in 2014, I was like, yo, this is dope. Like I was super happy, super proud. I had my first
Right.
release party, and that was
Yeah.
super lit as well. But now when I listen to it, I'm like, I don't want people to listen to Commotion and then find this because it's like
Right.
totally different. And yeah, I mean,
Right.
it does show how I evolved and it shows an upgrade. But at the same time,
Right.
there are some things that they have to stay with you for a moment in time, and then you have to move on. Either you make them disappear,
Right.
either you keep them, but it's a choice. And I made that choice of removing it because I felt like it didn't reflect who I was as an artist today. And today on
Right.
internet, you can go and find things so easily that somebody could
Right.
find that mixtape before even finding Commotion, and then they could judge me
Right.
on that instead of judging me on my work from today. So that's why I made
Right.
the choice.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So have you ever done a day job like a 9 to 5
Oh
ever?
yeah. Like
Yeah.
I quit my jobs maybe last year. I have always been
Okay.
working on the side. So when I was a student, I used to babysit.
Okay.
I've given classes, English classes, Spanish classes. I worked at
Wow.
the airport of Lyon for like 4 years.
Wow.
Then I got a master's in gender studies, so I started working for a business that deals with the public transport in Lyon, and I was working on a project that aimed to improve security for women in public transport. So I was
Oh,
working
that's
on
good.
gender equality and architecture and all those things.
Okay. Okay. So how was it for you to switch from, I think I have a lot of things in common with you because exactly a year ago, I also switched from a day job to
Oh, that's
doing
dope.
music full time. Yeah. So how was it for you to make that switch, to make that leap of faith?
It was pretty hard. Like for me, the most important is, to have money that comes in. To have food on your plate. Because even when I was
Right.
working, I was spending all my money on my music. Like, to be
Right.
able to travel, to be able to record, to go into a studio to record, to master a song, to buy clothes, to work on my style, to figure out all
Right.
these courses about social media and everything. So like I needed money, I needed an income. So I was like, okay, how am I going to do this? And I got to a stage in my job where I was taking a lot of days off. Like I was taking unpaid days off because I had to go to a concert, or I had to go to an
Right.
event, or I had to go to
Right.
Paris to record at a studio, or I had to go for meetings. And then I was like, I just feel like I'm not doing neither of those like 100% in, and I need to really focus on one thing. So that's when I was like,
Right.
okay, my job also needs somebody that is going to be there 100%. So I'm going to give that space to somebody else, because it's also selfish,
Right.
to want to keep both. So it's like, I'm going to give
Right.
that space to somebody else, and I'm going to take over my music and start making a real business out of it, so I can, have income that comes in, and then I
Right.
can start building it as a brand and as an artist and musically and everything.
Right.
So it was really weird at the beginning, because I was like, I would wake up in the morning like, oh my God, I have to go to work. And I was like, no, this is my work. My work is to stay at
Right.
home and work on my music and meet
Right.
people and contact people and listen to music and figure out what's the new
Right.
trend and how do I adapt that and stuff like that. And then I realized how much work it is, to be
Yeah.
concentrated 100% on your musical career. It's so much work. Like when you go to a job, you start at 9 o'clock, you finish at 5. When you're working as an artist,
Right.
you start the moment you wake up and you finish the
Right.
moment you go to sleep. It's like 24/7. You have to be answering
Right.
questions. You need to be getting calls. You need to be checking out what are the latest songs on the billboards. You need to be checking out
Right.
how people are doing the strategies on social media. You need to be
Right.
checking out what clothes would match your music video. You need to find out who are the people you want to work with for your music video. And there's like so much research to do all the time,
Right.
apart from just making
Right.
music. There's so much to figure out, and it's a
Agreed.
process that takes a lot of time.
Right. Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah.
I don't know how
So
how did you feel it, when you quit your job and you started working in music?
for me, actually, before I quit my job fully, I was working part time, like 3 days a week. So my company was quite supportive. So I was working with Mercedes-Benz. So they were quite supportive and they let me work just 3 days. But then it got to a point where I didn't know when my day starts or ends, or which I'm doing what, like when. Like, for example, sometimes I had to finish some projects. So I would do it early in the morning, then rush to my work, finish my work, directly head somewhere for a meeting or some recording or whatever, and then go back to sleep really late, and then wake up in the morning, then rush again to work. If I'm not working, then I'm probably somewhere else working on my music, similar to what I think pretty much the same process where I have to be updated about what's going on. I have to see how to build my brand and stuff like that. But I think I was really scared until I took that leap of faith, and then the day after I did, it felt so right. It's been the right feeling. And yeah, like you said, I think for us also another thing is, as musicians, there's no one monitoring us, so we have to monitor ourselves. It's so easy to slip into that whole comfort zone of not being watched. I think that's another big challenge for musicians.
100%. I don't think people realize how disciplined you have to be, to be a musician.
Right.
People think that you can
Right.
find a manager and that manager is going to babysit you and tell you what to do all the time. And no, that manager wants to see you working, and he's not going to work unless he sees you busting your ass off. And
Exactly.
that's the image that you have to give your team as well. They have to, be motivated by how much you work and how much effort you're putting into it. You're not going to find a team
True.
that's going to work for you. Like, you are
Right.
the key element of that team. You're the one that's making everybody move forward. So that's why it's like really important, yeah, to know what you want, know where you're going, and be ready to work for it like 100%.
Right. Yeah. So you've well accepted your persona and your identity, like because you've come from different cultures, and I think in a couple of interviews also you've told that you can't really define which part of you is coming from which culture. How was it before you did that?
I think I've always been like a mess. And even today, I think I'm a little bit of a mess. Like I'm a wreck in my head. There's like, I feel
Okay.
it's hard for me to say that I'm only one person because I'm a mixture of a lot of things. Not only culture
Right.
wise, but like I can be super feminine and I can be a real tomboy as well. I can be super cute and sweet and I can be like a ghetto girl as well. Like I have all these different identities inside me because I know
Right.
when I have to stand up to myself and I know when I can like let go and just be nice to somebody. But so in my music, I try to explore all these different identities. And I think that it's even more enriching to explore these different identities because then it gives you more variety in your songs. And it means that you can transmit different messages and create different atmospheres in your songs, kind of a thing. Like some people, you know, when they stick to one persona, like one identity, then all their music is
Right.
more or less the same. But we have to
Right.
accept that as artists, we don't feel the same thing during the rest of our lives. We evolve,
Right.
we feel different things. Sometimes we're high, sometimes we're low, sometimes we're super happy,
Right.
sometimes we're frustrated, sometimes we're sad, sometimes we're angry. And all of these elements
Right.
have to come out, you know, when we're creating music. And sometimes it's so hard.
Right.
Like for me, it's really hard to write a sad song because I'm always like, I want to create positive vibes and empowerment and all
Right.
this shit. And then I'm like, fuck, I just want to write a song about depression. And then my mind is like,
Right.
no, you can't do that. That is not you. And inside, I'm like, yeah, that is me. That is part of who I am. So, you know, it's really
Right.
hard to figure out what you want to write for yourself and what you want to write for the public because it's like two different things. Sometimes what you want to write to yourself is not what the public needs. So then you have to figure
Yeah.
out if you want to be 100% authentic to who you are or you want to be 100% authentic to your brand, kind of a thing.
Right. That you have to somehow find that middle ground which
Exactly.
works for both. Right. So your education, I think you've done your gender studies, right? You
Just,
did your master's in gender studies, and how is that influencing your music, and how has that been? Because in India, most of us are like pushed into either becoming engineers or doctor. I'm an engineer, you know. So how has your education process been, and how is that uh, acting contributing to your music?
you know, coming from an Indian family, I was also kind of pushed into those kind of thingies. My mom is a math teacher, so she really, you know, wanted me to do sciences and all this stuff. But I was
Right.
always good at like letters and arts, and she could see that I used to do fine arts when I was in college, and I used to paint and stuff like that. And she just saw that I was taking a different route, so she just let me be.
So what is your song creation process? How do you start? Do you start with beat? Do you start writing first, or how does that go?
I think I have different ways of writing. Like, for example, I always have a note that's open on my phone, and I write words that I find nice, like phonetically, or I
Right.
like the sense of it. And then sometimes I'll come
Right.
back to that notepad, and I'll be like, oh, here are 5 words that are from the same theme. Maybe I should write a song around that. Sometimes I just wake up and I'm like, damn, I want to write a song about chocolate, something really random. And then I'll start writing something. I'll just take a beat and I'll start writing something around chocolate. Or, for example,
Right.
somebody sends me a beat. I'll be like, wow, okay, this beat reminds me of this. Maybe this is the atmosphere that I want to create, and maybe I should start
Right.
talking about this. So it's like, it's different ways. Sometimes I'm inspired, sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I write 2 bars and I leave it. I go back and I come, you know, I come back and rewrite the rest of it. Sometimes if I haven't finished the song, I can't leave my house. Like I have to finish it
Right.
right now because I'm in that flow kind of a thing. So
Right.
so it really
Right.
depends.
Okay. Okay. Cool. So do you have a recording setup at your place? Do you record stuff by yourself, or?
Oh, I'm so bad with technology. Like I will not be. My computer's about to die, so
Oh shit.
I cannot use any of, you know, the different apps to make music and stuff. I don't have a mic at home. That's why quarantine has been a little hard because it's like I haven't been able to create music for 2 months. And I go
Right.
outside to a studio. So when people ask for like collabs, they're like, okay, it's cool. You're home alone. Home alone. Try to create music. And I'm like, yeah, but if you want me to collab with you, I can't send you my voices until lockdown is over. So then it like
Ah.
slows the process down and everything. But at the same
Right.
time, I'm also a person that believes in making music for a long term, as a long term option. Like I don't want
Right.
just to create a verse just like that and for you to release it and then 2 days after everybody has forgotten it, kind of a thing. If
Right.
I'm making a track with
Right.
somebody, I want there to be a strategy or promotion behind it. I want this to have
Right.
thought about the concept, you know, to be able to put it out and market it and everything. So
Cool.
yeah, it's also a filter for these kind of projects.
Okay, nice. Yeah. I think it's been very interesting for me to be interacting with different artists because no two artists have explained the same process to me. I think it's very insightful. Right. So, yeah, I think this one's, I think one of my favorite questions. So, like, I see a lot of artists here in India move to Mumbai, not just rappers, musicians, or actors. They move to Mumbai because that's where a lot of scene is happening. And you live in Lyon, right?
Mhm.
So, have you ever felt the need to move to Paris, or is the scene really big in Paris, or is it big where you stay?
It's a funny question because I'm moving to Paris this summer.
Okay.
It- so it's really hard to explain. Let's say that I always kind of leveled up my cities. So I used to be in a small village in Spain, then I moved to a
Right.
small village in France, then I moved to a bigger city in France, and now I'm going to move to the capital of France. So I think you need to
Right.
be looking for where business is, but you also
Right.
have to be able to move with your brand. If your brand is not ready to go to a big city like Bombay, don't move it over there because there is so much competition that you will be
Right.
absolutely drowned in the
Right.
sea of possibilities, and you will not be able to find your brand and yourself and market who you are if you're flooded with influences from other people. So before you move to a big city, you need to already have a public, even if it's a small public. You need to have a little public. You need to have a defined style, a defined aesthetic, and you need to know what your brand is about. Because if not, it's gonna be too hard, and you're never gonna be able to shine. Like you'll only be
Right.
able to shine when you move to a big city if you come with something different, and if you come with your own personality and your own style and stuff like that. And I think sometimes you need to make space for yourself. Like people always tell me that I should move out of France because I don't rap that much in French, so my real public
Right.
is not here. People have told me move
Right.
to India, your public will grow as crazy, or move to
Right.
England, your public will grow. And I'm always thinking, okay, maybe people in France are not ready for my kind of music, but if they're not, I'm
Right.
going to work on different areas at the same time. I'm going to travel to India, I'm going to travel to England, I'm going to travel to Spain, but I'm still going to stay here because this is where I feel the best. You know, sometimes you have to make choices for
Right.
yourself as well. And France has a huge
Okay.
system, you know, that supports artists and invests in artists as well. So I don't see myself going to India, for example. I know for a fact that I will not be able to go to India and develop my career in Europe, but I can be in Europe and develop my career in India. You know, it's kind
So,
of, you need to make strategic choices, and you need to know where is the place where you can connect with other places the best. Not only, you know, the city that is going to give you the most business, but which is the city that is going to open doors to other countries, kind of a thing.
wow. Okay. Nice. You got shitloads of knowledge, man.
Thank you.
You really do your no, you really do your research, and I think you got your shit sorted in your head. Though you say it's full of confusions, but I think you know which direction you're heading.
Yeah, because it's really funny if you think about it. You know, when people tell me, "Yeah, move to Bombay," you like your audience will really grow. And I always say, how many people from Bombay tour in Europe? That's the
Yeah.
answer. Like if people tell me move to New York, okay, I can say how many people from New York tour in Europe. If you think about it, there isn't a lot. Only independent artists tour in Europe. These big
Right.
artists, they only come and do one show in Paris, and that's it. They don't really
Right.
tour in Europe, kind of a thing. So that's why I always think, you know, you have to really be able to think of it strategically. What is your goal in life? Maybe your goal in life is not to tour. Maybe it's just to make streams. And you can do
Right.
streams wherever you are, kind of a thing, you know? So you have to figure out what you want and then which is the best place to do it from. It doesn't always have to
Right.
be a big city.
Right. Okay. Wrap a big deal in the house.
Yeah, shout out, big deal.
Shout out the big deal. Biggie makes most of my beats. I think more than I think he's been a brother to me, and I think he's like I think he's pretty much similar to you in these kind of aspects. He's always researching and like anytime we get on a call, he has so much of knowledge to give. Yeah. So
Thank you.
tell us about Goa. Like when was the first time you performed in India? And tell us about Goa. I think you keep visiting India often because your family's here,
Yeah, so my
right?
full family is in Goa. So I left Goa when I was 2 years and a half, and I only came back when I was 11. And then I started going back every 2 years to reconnect with my family and stuff. And then when I started working on my music, I was like, okay, I really want to come back and start, you know, sharing my music, meeting different artists. But if you think about it, there isn't a lot going on in Goa. I remember coming to Goa maybe 4 years ago and there was nothing. So I just like called the studio and I was like, I'm just going to go and record at the studio just to, you know, be able to say that I did something in Goa kind of a thing. But like when I went there, nobody was talking about hip hop in Goa and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, you know, maybe I have to like keep it low and maybe it will come or something. And then, you know, after this whole Gully Boy thing, like everybody wanted to do hip hop and stuff. The first time I performed in India was last year. Yeah, last year. Last year in
Delhi.
Yeah, Delhi was my first show. I came in July 2019. So I was going to do showcases because nobody knew me, right, in India. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to go and do small showcases in clubs, do 4 or 5 songs just to get my name out there and stuff. And then that's how people started, you know, recognizing me and knowing what my name was. And then they started following me on social media. And that's when in February, like, we decided to come back and create a whole tour. So when I came in August, at the same time I was doing my showcases, I was also, you know, contacting bookers and contacting event managers and stuff like that, just so I could figure out who was doing what. And so that people knew who I was, just in case they had a slot, they could always kind of call me. You always have to be people's books. Like, people have to know who you are so that they can know to contact you and they can think of you whenever they have something that, you know, that is kind of meant to be for you. So like, that's what I was trying to do, you know, network, talk about everybody, talk to everybody. And it's really important, you know, to be nice to everybody, because somebody that is just an assistant at a booker's agency might tomorrow be the boss of another agency. And it's really important to always be good and kind to everybody. You know, okay, if they're being mean to you, then, you know, you have to step up and, you know, stand up to them and confront them and ask them what's going on. But it's really always important to never judge people about, you know, according to their position in the business. And always, you know, give everybody an equal opportunity. So yeah, when I came back in February, I did my tour, and that was like a really, really good experience. It was the first time I was able to, you know, really show the public what I was able to do, you know, do my full 45-minute set on stage, you know, with spin, and then, you know, just feel the vibe, feel the energy kicking in, feel everybody jumping and dancing with me. That was pretty crazy. I really felt at home when that happened.
Awesome. Okay, I think that was your actual homecoming experience.
For sure, 100%.
So what can we hear from you soon? Like, what are your upcoming projects? Are you working on an album, or do you have a single? Do you have some features coming in? Spin Doctor gave us a little snippet of what he's working on when I went live with him.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I am working on a second album, and this album is going to be very, very interesting because I'm going to take a lot more risks. I'm going to experiment a lot more. So there's going to be things that might sound a little bit weird and themes that are going to sound a little bit weird, but it's going to be really interesting. I have a couple of singles coming out. So between this summer and this autumn, there were videos and stuff that we wanted to release now during the quarantine season, but we just decided, you know, to lay low for now and just release it when the moment is right, because right now, you know, things are just being consumed really quickly, and then they disappear. People are not streaming that much, people are not buying, so it's not a good moment, you know, to put stuff on the market. So we're keeping all that for maybe this summer, and the rest of the year there are going to be more songs in Spanish. There are going to be songs with Indian artists as well. So I'm working maybe on 5 or 6 collabs with Indian artists, and some of them are very, very interesting. Some of them are very, very creative. So yeah, hopefully I'll be able to get some Hindi in there too.
Oh, nice. Okay, that's cool. I think they want to hear some bars in Spanish.
Okay. Me está dando todas las señales, tu mano cerca mía, daños colaterales, quiero hacerte cosas anticonstitucionales, no tengo que preguntarte, tus ojos me dicen cuáles, tú sabes que los otros te miran mal, te llevan la victoria con mi nombre en el brazal, capitán, aquí tienes tu victoria individual, dime qué sabes hacer con ese temperatura habitual, diferente, tú sabes que es diferente, que quiero que sea ambiente, aquí tú tengo el agua hirviente, contraciente. Nunca tenemos suficiente, levantamos para tocar mi continente. That's it.
Wow, you sound so different when you rap.
Yeah, my voice is so different.
Right. Well, that was dope. That was dope. I think the MG asked, I think a couple of people wanted to hear your Spanish bars. So I think, yeah.
Dope,
So
dope.
yeah, most of your songs are groovy. I think it's more dancey, and is that a big influence from your dance background, or is just the vibe you are in?
I think that the real influence is the kind of music that I used to listen to when I was a kid. Because I listened to, for example, a lot of Missy Elliott. And Missy Elliott
Ah,
has the perfect combination between, bars, flow, and danceable songs. Like all her
right,
songs are like radio hits, if you think about it. So
right,
what I was trying to create is, yeah, of course, something that would appeal to dancers, but also something that you could hear on the radio. I'm really looking for that kind of sound, that radio hit kind of music, which also has
right,
a message behind it. Like, I don't want to just make radio music, for the sake of making it and, say stuff that doesn't make sense. But I also want to make music,
right,
that makes sense and is danceable and people can enjoy. I think there's a lot of rappers today that are making dark music and, depressive music and stuff. And I don't want to add to that. I really want to be able to
right,
say, okay, music is a good way of being happy. It's a good way of, sharing emotions and vibing together. And when you listen to music, you forget
right.
about all your problems and you disconnect
True.
from everything and you just enjoy. Like, music is entertainment and music is also
Right.
educational, so you can be entertained and educated at the same time. So that's like the kind of vibe I want to get into.
Nice. Okay. So you've got the opportunity to meet Charlie Tuna and Tech Nine and Token. How were those experiences?
Well, they're always kind of disappointing because you never get the chance to actually sit down with these people and talk. So
Okay.
it's weird. I think whenever I'm told that I'm opening up for a big artist, I always
Right.
try to tell myself, okay, now the artist is gonna know what my name is, but that doesn't mean
Right.
they're gonna remember who I am, and that doesn't mean that I'm gonna be able to speak to them because it's really, you can't just go up to an artist that is selling millions of records and say, "Oh, hi, I'm Tracy. Let's talk about how you came into music." It's like they'll be like, "Yo, I'm not here for that. I'm here just to make it. Come go on stage, do my shit, make my
Right.
money, and leave." So there are artists
Right.
with who I can talk to, and others like Tech Nine. He came 2 minutes before he had to go on stage, and
Okay.
he got off stage. He was in the thing for 2 minutes, and all the organizers were like, "No, Tech Nine doesn't want anybody to talk to him. So if you want to talk to him, you have to come through me." So I was like, "Yo, can I ask him if I can take a photo with him at the end of the show?" So then she let me come in, and I said, "Yo, Tech, I love your music." Then he was like, "Oh yeah, what's your name? Where you come from?" That's it. That was the end of the conversation.
Man.
So
Okay.
you have to be ready for that as well. Maybe that's not the last time you're gonna see him. You don't have to look desperate, when you're an artist. You have to tell
Right.
yourself that this is the first time you're seeing Tech Nine, but you might see him another 4 or 5 times in your life. So on
Right.
those are the moments. That's when you have to build. Now he knows what I look like. Next time he's gonna remember my name. The time after he's gonna remember the kind of music I do. The time after he's gonna remember that I am from here and I do this music and I work with this record label and I've done this collab, and then it makes sense. But you can't look desperate and want to tell you the artist everything that you've done in your life, because that just is gonna scare the artist away, and he's gonna be like, okay, she's too needy, kind of a thing. She needs validation, and when you talk to a known artist, you shouldn't be looking like you need validation, kind of a thing.
Right. Wow. Wow. That's super insightful, because I think I always play this shit in my head that whenever I'm gonna see my idols or artists I look up to, I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do. I'm either gonna fanboy the fuck out, or I don't know what to talk. So I think when you got the first picture I saw was of you with Token, and I'm like, I saw the small thumbnail. I'm like, wait, is that Token? And then he's wearing a Tony Yayo t-shirt, and I'm like, Token, wait. And then I really wanted to ask you, how was that experience? If you would get to talk to them, or how is it? But I think that makes a lot of sense.
Like, even to Token, I didn't speak that much. I spoke a lot more to his DJ, and I'm still, I still speak to his DJ today. Sometimes it's not about talking to the artist; it's about staying connected to his team as well. And sometimes you're gonna get really well. You're gonna get along with their manager, and their manager
Right.
is then gonna talk to the artist about you, and their manager is gonna put you on another stage with that artist. So it's also about
Right.
catering to the needs of everybody, their teams and everything, and not only the artist.
Right. Wow. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So, what are your tips for upcoming rappers? And I really strongly feel that we need more femcs, more female rappers. What is your thought on that?
So this FEMC question is very, very interesting because I think it's not the responsibility of women. Like a lot of people would say, yeah, tell girls to not be scared and go up and rap and stuff. No, we need to create spaces that are safe for women to go and create music. For example, when we do workshops, we need to try and include more girls in those workshops. When we do workshops, we need to include women giving the workshops because that is going to make girls feel more comfortable going there. You know, when I used to be, I've been to like a couple of workshops before I actually started rapping, and it was always guys. And it's a room full of guys, and then there's a guy teaching you. You don't feel comfortable, you know, to just go and say bars or just go and ask questions. It's not. You just feel like you're totally out of your place, kind of a thing. So that's why when I started rapping, I started doing workshops as well, like giving workshops, because I was like, I want more girls to come into here. And I want to normalize the idea that girls can make music and they can give you tips and you can learn from a woman. So I think it's really important that we create spaces for girls in workshops. When I say workshops, it's not only about rap, it's also about production, mastering, mixing, stage coaching, you know, sound engineering, light engineering, all these works that are around, you know, the music industry and the entertainment industry. We need to create spaces for women there. And then we have to normalize the idea that, yes, there are women in hip hop, and it's great to be a woman in hip hop because nowadays we have this idea that it's really bad to be a woman in hip hop because there are so many obstacles. It's super hard, and you know it's a lot of pressure, which is 100% true. But it's good.
Right.
It's good for us to go to that pressure because when we get to the top, we enjoy it a lot more than a man does. Because for us, we really know that when a girl gets to the top, she has worked for that.
Right.
100%. So it's really important, you know, for us to create spaces, normalize the idea that women are in hip hop, and then make them more visible. In France, there are so many female artists, but they're not programmed. If you look at all big festivals, there's only one woman programmed out of 50 rappers, and it's like, come on, we're like, I don't know, 1,000 female rappers in France. Why aren't we programmed? Why are we not on media? Why are we not on TV? Why are we not on radios? So it's not only about women taking the first step to make music, it's also about media, the entertainment industry, the whole society. You know, it's about all of us getting synced together and normalizing the idea that women can make music and women have the space to make it.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. It's like you're surprising me with every question. You have a complete different perspective of things. And I think that also comes with your experience of travel. And I think when you travel so much, you meet different kinds of people from different societies and different backgrounds. And I think that just makes everything more clear for you. That's nice.
Cool. Right. Yeah, and I just want to say big up to you because this initiative is really, really cool. You know, these rap tales and you bringing different artists and exposing them to your public. It's really, really interesting. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for whatever you're giving into the hip hop culture. It's really important as well.
Yeah, I think more than anything, especially Indian hip hop, what it needs right now is unity and artists to come together. Because of course the public is going to enjoy the whole beef and all the masala and stuff. And but I think it's important that hip hop as a scene is only going to grow because we're at a very nascent phase. It's just the very start of you know, the whole hip hop scene. And I think it's important for artists to grow together, and that's when the scene is going to grow.
100%.
Right. Or they're asking, I get to collaborate with you. Yeah, but I think we need. I have that on the back of my mind, but I think I need to know you better as an artist. I need to explore more of your music, and I don't want to just come to you that, okay, I know Tracy, I'm in touch with her, and just, you know, get to you with like, hey, I got the song, I want you to jump on this beat. But I think it makes more sense for me. This is just my perspective that I need to know what kind of music you do, and I need to have a song where you would fit in right as a collaborator.
100%. I think that when you create collabs, it's not only about, you know, knowing who the other artist is. It's about, you know, creating something that makes sense. Because I could create music with my dog if I want to. I mean, okay, but does it make sense? Like, does it make sense for me to jump on your track? If like, does it make sense with your project? Does it make sense with your aesthetic? Does it make sense with your message? You know, it has to make sense globally. So then people are like, oh yeah, that makes so much sense. They're working together on a song that talks about this. That is totally logic. Kind of thing. If not, you're gonna be like, why would they do a song together? Like what? You know, it's, you need to make sure it's like clear.
Right. Right. And I think someone wants to know when you're going to be performing in Bangalore soon. And I think I think you made a couple of more fans today.
No, thank you so much. I really want to come back to India. I'm like dying to come back. I was actually meant to come back in March, but obviously everything got canceled because of Corona. So
Right.
hopefully next year, I don't think I'll be able to come in 2020 because the borders are gonna, take a while to open up. And then when we actually get
Right.
to travel, it's gonna be a lot more difficult and stuff. So maybe 2021, I'll be able to come with my new project, with my new music, and do more shows. And I just hope I have more Indian people there ready for me to come. I just need to prepare that public.
Right. Right. I think two more things. Someone wants you to say something in Hindi, and someone wants you to tell something in Kannada.
Oh my God, the only thing I know how to say is Hindi is a bad word. I think you know which one I'm thinking about, so. Exactly. And in Canada, I don't know how to say anything in Canada.
I think maybe you can say.
How do you say hi
Or you can say,
in Canada?
Namaskara, ಹೆಂಗಿದ್ದೀರಾ?
Namaskara?
ಹೆಂಗಿದ್ದೀರಾ?
Hindindira?
ಹೆಂಗಿದ್ದೀರಾ?
Hengidira?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I am so bad at this.
You gave it a shot. Right. I think that's it. That's all I could extract out of your social media. Thank you. Thank you so much. We ended up speaking for an hour, and I thank you so much, Tracy, for doing this. Really, really appreciate it. And I hope you can get out soon and record your songs.
Yeah.